Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jennifer Karen. We are here at the St. Francis Hospital to start our Macoupin Montgomery Recovery into Systems of Care meeting today. So today we are going to go to our announcements, I believe.
Well, first we start with our leaders.
Yes, sorry.
It's okay.
Who could forget our leaders? I don't know if you usually read them or. So we have Mr. Taro, Becky, Brian, and I am Jennifer. Next slide.
Right, and then what is our agenda for today?
Yes, we have an agenda today. Obviously at 2 o'clock, we are doing our welcome intro and our announcements. We do have meetings from the last, which would have been April meeting. So I need to get an approval of those meeting minutes. Do I have a first and a second? Okay, and we will approve those meeting minutes. We do have our safe passage coordinators online, I believe. And if we could just get an update for those at the time. And we do have a speaker coming up from Macoupin County Probation and Drug Court, Corinne Briscoe, right? It's going to be presenting today. After that, we will move into our moment of wellness provided by Kathy. And then we will have our closing remarks. I did allow some time for questions after Corinne's presentation today. So if anyone has any questions, Brian is going to be monitoring our Zoom questions. And if anyone in the room has questions, we will pause for that as well. At this point, I'm going to let Elise and Lindsay take over to talk a little bit about our safe passage.
Okay, so the only thing that I think that I want to update everybody on is we met with MERC, which is Metro East Recovery Council, last week because they're interested in safe passages and possibly starting something over in Madison County. So we talked to them about the possibility of doing so, how they could get started, and hopefully we'll be meeting with Bev soon to get them all of the materials and everything that they would need to again, determine whether or not they want to start something like that over there. So that's pretty cool that this is now spreading over to that area. And then our numbers are somewhere in there. I think that we had 21 safe passage clients this last month. It is our lowest number. However, it's the highest for the amount of people that went through with it. Only one person out of all of them decided that they didn't want to go through the treatment. So very high follow-through rate, which is our highest yet. So I'm not upset about the amount of numbers because we're still helping people, but I'm really excited that there was that much of a rate of people following through.
Elise or Lindsay, didn't you have a few more safe passage sites opening too? I think I recorded the Caffeine Police Department, Wilsonville Police Department, Girard Police Department, Nokomis as potential new sites.
Yes, so I think we have up to 26 now across Macoupin and Montgomery County. 29 actually, when we just counted it. 29, that's pretty great.
26 was the number we had before, so yeah, that was with the new one.
Okay, thank you. We're going to slide right into our announcements. I also want to make an announcement to anyone here or online. If you guys have community events that are going on and you would like us to promote them at our meetings, if you would like to email those to Brian or I, that way we can promote them at any event or meeting we have. Just send those to us so we can do that. But as far as our announcements goes for this monthly meeting, we do have a webinar coming up on June 8th for motivational interviewing. We have another emotional regulation skills on June 9th. And then we have a recovery-oriented care on 6/22. Those will all be emailed to you and your follow-up email from your meeting today. We also have a Building Recovery Ecosystem Summit that's actually in Memphis, Tennessee from June 8th to 10th. I will be attending that. but it also is available online for free. We do have the Metro East Narcotics Anonymous Up the Creek float trip. It's July 29th. And we also wanted to announce that our Beneld Library is having summer fun activities for youth sponsored by the Macoupin County Public Health Department beginning May 23rd and continuing through June every Wednesday and Friday. So there'll be fun activities for your kiddos through the summer. We also want to announce that May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So there's events going on throughout the month of May. June 10th, we do have the Alcoholics Anonymous Founders Day. And then we also just wanted to keep in the, I guess, in the announcements that Al-Anon meetings every Thursday at 6:30 at Crossover Ministries Living Room in Hillsborough, Illinois. We also have Emotions Anonymous meetings every Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m. at the Beacon Church in Litchfield. Next slide, please. Okay. Okay, as far as St. Francis Way goes, we have been moving ahead with everything as far as our recovery side. We still are opening our doors. We have walk-in hours at our St. Francis Way location. We don't turn anyone away. So if you have a friend or coworker or someone involved in your life that you need to or need services, we are there. Some fun things that are happening. We are getting some new coworkers through Recovery Corps. We're looking for a navigator and also 2 navigators, one for our Litchfield location, one for our Gillespie location. And what's the other position called? I forgot. Project coordinators. So we do have information about that. If you would like to apply, you can do that through us as well. Next slide, please. Lindsay and Elise, you kind of are our outreach and awareness. Any new spots or locations that you want to update us on?
I would just like to add that Macoupin County Public Health Department is now a Narcan distribution site, and we have Narcan available at all of our clinics. I have also placed some on that back table if anyone would like to take some with them. And if you would like additional, just let me know and we'd be happy to bring it to you.
Something I don't know if everyone is aware of, but Lindsay and Elise are like our boots on the ground people. So they do go out and I guess tour facilities and other resources we have, maybe not in our community, but in neighboring communities. So we're also building a resource guide. So any questions you might have for someone that we could also answer or link you to, we are building that resource network. Next slide, please.
It might be good to have people go around the room
and
introduce themselves.
Sorry about that.
Before goes.
So at this time, we're going to go ahead and go around the room and have people introduce themselves.
And do any updates from the agency?
Let me try to do this. Okay. Do you want to put that
It'll
over there?
automatically, yeah, it'll automatically do that.
Okay. All right.
All right, I'll go first since I'm right here. I'm Carissa. I am the evaluator for the RCORP project, and I also help with training and whatever other types of little logistical things they need over at the over at Macoupin County. Yeah.
My name is John Magnuson. I'm the president of the Litchfield Ministerial Alliance, and I'm also a board member of the 708 board. One thing that is happening in August through kind of the Alliance, but it's largely community centered, is the Back to School Bash. We're having it at the Litchfield Community Center. It's an event for the community, by the community. So we'll have things like free haircuts. The health department's going to be there giving away immunizations. Library is going to be giving books. Whole bunch of other organizations are going to be present. Girl Scouts, babysitting stuff, daycare, not babysitting. But it's really growing, and I think there we did I say haircuts?
Yes.
Okay. We also have somebody for shoes now, like a shoe store in Litchfield is wanting to participate. So it's just a really cool event. There's no charge. It's one day, Saturday, August 6th. They can go to the pool afterwards, so it's not just, hey, come get stuff because you're needy. It's let's actually have fun and come together as a community. So if you want to participate in that at all, let me know and you can have a table. I do not care what you do. I think there's going to be like free smoke alarms, a whole bunch of other stuff there as well. So that is something that's happening, I guess, in our organization.
I'm Ovia. I'm a practicing student in the Cooking Public Health Department. Hi, I'm Crystal. I'm also a practicing student with the Public Health Department. And also making a quick plug for the youth activities. We're going to be doing those on Fridays of June in partnership with Library. Library has them on Wednesdays. So there'll be snacks, and we'll be doing some nutritional and physical and mental wellness activities. So if you have any friends that live in the middle there that have some kiddos, so we can push them over our way, and we'll be happy to hang out with them.
Everyone, my name is Shannon. I'm the practicing student with Teresa.
Hi, I'm Julia Butler. I'm a research assistant at SLU and project coordinator on the actual programs. Hi, I'm Bethany Price. I'm the nurse educator and emergency preparedness coordinator here.
I'm Christiane Smith. I'm the executive director of NAMI, Southwestern Illinois.
Okay, I'm Brian Polo. I'm the other ROSC coordinator. I just want to give a quick update that 2 weeks ago, Jennifer, Elise, and Lindsay went to a multiple pathways to recovery conference in Colorado, brought back a ton of good stuff that we'll be sharing over the next month. And Becky, who is still out of town, and myself attended a Take Action Stigma, Rural Communities, and Overdose Response in Rochester, New York. It was a big national summit, and we'll be sharing over the next couple of weeks what we had happen there. And it's grateful to be with you all. Thank you all for accommodating these supportive spaces. Thank you.
Dan Huff, the chairman of the 708 board and also deputy director. Announcement involving the 708. The application process is currently opened as of May 1st, and it will end the last day of June. It is online. You can apply via the Montgomery County website. Follow the link for the funding application, and all are welcome to apply. About 600,000 for this year's numbers. So that's all I have.
I'm Ron Howard. I'm with the Montgomery County Health Department, and I'm the program director for a mobile crisis response team. We do have plans to be up and fully operational by June 1st, so that's the update that I have for everyone. And we have engagement specialists who are peers, be meeting people in the field throughout a new 10 months. We've got 8 hired. We plan on hiring 12. So.
Wow.
I'm Kathy. I'm a certified recovery support specialist with the Good County Public Health Department.
I'm Linda Leacher with Crossover Ministries. On May 28th at Litchfield Community Center, there'll be a CPR, suicide prevention training from 10 to 12. It's almost full, but you still can sign up through online through our website. And we also will be starting the Strengthening Families program in coordination with the Borough Hospital at our location, 102 North Main Street. Our first week will start May 31st and will continue for 12 to 14 weeks after that every Tuesday from 5:30 from 6 to 8:30. So if you know of any families interested, please come and sign up.
Hi, I'm Julie Coleman from the Chestnut Health Systems. Right now, I cover the counties of Kaufman, Green, Jersey, Macoupin, Pike, and Scott. And Chestnut's got a lot of changes coming also, so we'll talk more about those next month.
Hi, Kevin Schott, I'm Director of Emergency Management Agency here in the county and also Chair of our Community Risk Reduction Committee. No announcements.
You just want to start back that way. We'll go.
Is there any, also, don't forget the phone for people on the.
Yes. Brian or Ben, I'm sorry.
Hi, my name is David in office. Member of AA, NA, and Al-Anon, primarily in Montgomery County. We've been sober since February of 2016. Looking to get more involved in the country. Not sure.
Hi, my name is Sam. I'm a participant in the Montgomery County Drug Court Program. This Friday, I will be graduating. There will be 2 from Hillsborough and 1 from Litchfield graduating. You guys are all welcome to attend.
I'm Chief Brian Boston from Girard Police Department. We have no announcement.
Thank you.
Susan. I'm Susan Dunn. I'm with Macoupin County Probation. I'm one of the drug court officers over there.
No, you're get introduced. What did you say?
Also anyone who's on the.
Right. Online, we do have some that I think you saw some in the chat. We do have Lauren here from Jersey Community Hospital. She's the grant and project manager. I'm not going to try to pronounce your last name. Savoy. That's what I was going to say, but I thought I'd butcher it. We do have Tony Randall. She's the Bond County ROSC coordinator for Bond County Recovery Council. We have Jason Farley. He's with MRA, Recovery and Community Outreach Director. We have Charity Griggs. She is the CEFS Montgomery County Outreach Coordinator. And then she was just complimenting me on my pronunciation. So I think that's everyone that commented. So at this point, we are going to go ahead and switch over, and I'm going to introduce.
Hello.
Hi,
this is Janelle Robinson. I guess you missed me in the chat. Janelle Robinson from Center of Behavior and Addiction Medicine with Alt Memorial Hospital.
I did not see you. Thank you for commenting.
Not a problem.
I do also see now that Terry Lane is on. He is with Lewis and Clark Community College. He's the Career and Veteran Services. And I think that might be everyone.
Horrible from Chestnut.
Sorry. Do anyone online have any updates that they would like to share? And it looks like we do have Ron Sprong he's a community outreach coordinator for Greene County Health Department. If there are no further updates, I will go ahead and we will move right along to Corinne Briscoe. She is the.
I forgot to mention, what's coming out with the summit that NAMI is putting on national, and it's actually basically like a can be virtual, and it's only a member of $15, and 3 days of pretty intensive. There's over 50 workshops that they're offering, and so for the price, it's great, and the opportunity to hear some, interesting, innovative things that are happening, and to stand on a lot of the changes going on with mental health. It's really, I would welcome you to join, and if you go to NAMI.org, they have all the information.
I'm not sure if everyone heard that, but there is a NAMI event coming up. It's a summit. It's a 3-day summit. You can go to NAMI.org and sign up for that summit as well. Okay. Without further ado, I'm going to turn it over. Maybe. We'll just switch spots, I guess. Here we go. Oh, okay. You're okay with me taking the next? Yep, I'm good. Okay.
Hi, everyone online. I'm probably going to be looking this direction though, because the people in front of me are that way. So I'm Corinne Briscoe. I'm the coordinator of the Macoupin County Drug Court. I'm also the director of probation and court services over Macoupin, Greene, and Scott counties. Do I need to talk louder?
No.
Oh, I thought you were saying go up. Okay. Okay, so just to tell you guys, I'm gonna talk for like 20 minutes and I can talk for 10. I told her I could talk for way longer. Feel free to interrupt me if you have any questions. If there are questions on the chat, I'm happy to just do a free flow conversation here. And just to let you know too, I want to tell you this at the beginning because we really want just to spread the word, just like all of you guys doing the awesome things you're doing in the community. More than anything, we just want more people to know about this program and understand more about what the people in our program are dealing with and are going through and how we as a community can help them. So if there's another organization that you're involved in within Macoupin County, I mean, I'll come talk to Montgomery County or any county really, but if there's some place in Macoupin that you would like us to come and speak to, that's what we're trying to do. That's why we're here. That's why you guys are here. We just want to better our community in whatever way that we can. So if you hear this and you think, oh, these people really need to hear this message, as few as 5, we're happy to go out and meet them where they're at and tell them about our program. Because so much of what this is like what you all are doing and trying to reduce the stigma around substance use disorder. So Macoupin County Drug Court, what is it? A lot of people have heard of drug courts, but don't really have any idea what it really is. And so drug courts are a really unique part of the criminal justice system. And the really unique piece is that it incorporates both the judiciary, which is the judges, and like the court people, so like the public defenders and the state's attorneys, the prosecutors, with probation, which is community supervision, and treatment, which is the people who provide the substance use disorder treatment, usually in the community. And so it's a combination of all three of those entities, and it's unlike anything else in the judicial system and the criminal justice system. It's really a unique program. And so it started back in the early 90s in Dade County, Florida. And basically a judge decided, I want more involvement with these people's lives. They need to come before me more often. I want to see them and I want to see whether or not they're doing what I tell them to do. And so tons of research has been done on drug courts since then. They're evidence-based. There are a set of national standards that we utilize. There's a set of state standards that we utilize. And a lot of counties in Illinois have them. There are 102 counties in Illinois, and I think close to like 95 or above have some type of treatment court available in their county. And so here in Macoupin, we have a drug court. Well, not here. Montgomery County obviously has a drug court, and you pop in anytime you want to talk about your experience. That's awesome. Macoupin County has a drug court. Greene County has a drug court. Scott County is one of the very few counties in Illinois that do not have access to a problem-solving court. Because of our unique district setup in Macoupin, Greene, Scott, we could probably help somebody in the Scott County area. And I think the Morgan County drug court is open to that as well. So Scott County kind of leans on both of those two places for their treatment court needs. So in Macoupin County, I'm just going to kind of give you my regular spiel that I talk to people about when they come in to meet with me for a screening. So the first step in the process of getting drug court is called a screening. And so we're actually still back on the other one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, just tell me when to change the slide.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm going to talk a long time on this one.
Okay.
So basically when somebody comes in, I tell them all about our program and how intense it is, because everything that I just said is so true, but it is a huge undertaking for the individuals who want to be a part of the program. There are a lot of requirements, way more than regular probation. So people sometimes, their attorney will say, oh, well, it's prison or it's drug court. They're like, oh, I want drug court, right? Because that's what we all would say. We want drug court because it's the alternative of prison oftentimes. But then when they realize what that really means, because they've usually heard of probation, and probation, you see an officer usually once a month, maybe twice a month. You have a home visit here and there. You have some advocacy. It's not a lot of work, okay? Drug court is a totally, totally different thing. I mean, we're talking daily requirements every single day of the week, and it doesn't let up. That's through the entire term of drug court. So the program usually lasts 24 months. It can be longer and it can be shorter. It is an individualized program. So if everyone in here was given drug court, it would be different for each one of you. So no two of you would be exactly alike on what responses you received from the court, how long your program was, or the type of treatment you would receive from your treatment provider. So it's very, very individualized. And that's a hard thing for people who come into our program because they want it to be the same for everybody. They see one person go before the judge and get an essay, let's say, as a response. And they're frustrated that they go before the judge with a similar type of issue and they get something totally different. But like I said, in the very beginning, that very first contact with me, I tell them it's an individualized program and it's different for every single person. So what motivates you, sir, does not motivate you, ma'am, in the same way. And obviously we're all different and we're all motivated by different things. And that's what our team talks about. So the team is basically built up of the judge, the state's attorney, public defender, probation officer, coordinator, myself. We have 2 representatives from Locust Street Resource Center in Carlinville who provide our outpatient substance use treatment services. And then we also have a community member, which is somewhat unique. Her name is Dixie Gage. I believe she's been to this meeting before. She loved it, thought it was great. But I believe she's traveling today and was unable to attend. But she's got a unique perspective and is a community member on our court. And then we also include law enforcement. So Brian Lawton of the Carlinville Police Department also sits on our drug court team. And so those people are basically who decide whether or not an individual has done well in the last 2 weeks or has not done well. And so every time that the client comes in for drug court, they stand before the judge and they have a response. So they either get a positive response or a negative response from the court based on their behavior. And their behavior is based on all of the rules that they're required to comply with. If they've complied with everything, they usually get what we call is a reward. And our rewards can range from lots of different things, but typically it's a draw from our fishbowl. And in our fishbowl, we have different numbers and different rewards. There's always at least one big reward right now. So like last time, I believe in court, somebody got a $100 gift card to Pros to buy a new pair of shoes. The time before that, it was a $100 Walmart gift card. So there's always like a around $100 big ticket item, but we can go for weeks or months without somebody drawing that. So it's not always every time that we go that somebody gets that. And then also the majority percentage-wise of the numbers are ones, which is the lowest level. And usually there's candy, deodorant, nail polish, low-level items cost-wise on our cart that they can pick from. Okay, and so basically that's the type of positive reward that they receive. They also usually, everyone gets a clap. And usually they get some type of positive reinforcement from the judge. And that's really either way. I mean, she really tries to do a great job at like finding something good to positively reinforce with the client. Let's say hypothetically that they do not comply with all the conditions though, then they are given usually a sanction. And a sanction is something that we utilize to try to change the behavior. So it's oftentimes viewed as punishment, but it's honestly meant to try to change the behavior that we saw that was negative in the last 2 weeks. So that could mean something as small as community service work in the community. It could mean an extra meeting. And it could be something as significant as, loss of rights, which would be like going to jail or home confinement, something like that. So those are usually the 2 responses that they would receive from the judge. Now our team basically gives the judge recommendations, but it's ultimately the judge's decision as to what happens to that individual when it comes their turn to go before the court. So we just talked about the requirements that they have to come once every 2 weeks to drug court and be present in person. Beyond that, every day there are a number of other requirements. Okay, so those range from drug testing, which is the most significant in terms of everyday obligations. So every morning, the client is required to check their smartphone app to determine if they are required to drug test that day. They have most of the day to come into the drug court or to the probation department. Our office is open from 8:30 to 4:30. They can come in as late as like 4:15 and be out of there by 4:30. Our drug, if you find out at 7 a.m. that you have to drug test, you can be prepared. Every time we ask a client to drug test, though, we give them 2 hours. So if I say to a client, okay, I'm going to ask that you provide a drug test specimen today, they have 2 hours from that moment to produce one. If you don't, then you're willfully basically not willing to give us a sample. So they're kind of waiving that if they show up at 1 or at 4:15, and they understand that. So they usually have all day though to come in and drug test. They have to do 3 of those per week. And that's the most rigorous requirement basically throughout the entire course of their term. And I can explain this, we have 4 phases in our program. And so the requirements kind of go down. So the most significant phase is phase 1. And those are the requirements that I'll talk to you about, because if a client can get through phase 1, they can get through the entire program. It's just that interest and motivation. So beyond drug testing, though, they have to meet with their probation officer weekly, which is not hard when they're coming in for 3 drug tests a week at the beginning. They have to comply with any treatment requirement. And so that might not sound like that big of a deal, but for somebody who's coming into drug court, they obviously have a significant treatment use disorder. And so honestly, in the beginning, it may be an intensive outpatient recommendation. And when they hear outpatient, they're usually very happy because they don't want to go to residential usually in the beginning. But if they continue to use in the community, then the recommendation usually changes to residential. And that's what we typically see. They start with residential and then they kind of go down from there in relation to their treatment responses. So they're required to comply with treatment. And that can not only be what I just described as substance use treatment, but it can also be mental health treatment, because we see a lot of dual diagnosis in this area and underdiagnosed mental illness in our population significantly. So not only are they required to comply with whatever the treatment provider gives them in relation to substance use treatment, but also mental health. And we basically, in the last 5 years, decided that everyone who comes into our program needs an immediate mental health evaluation, because we just see that overlap so often. And there will be so many times when we've determined like 9 months, 12 months in, okay, what did this eval say, the mental health evaluation say? And we'll realize one hadn't been done. And so it's like, okay, these things keep popping up and we realize, okay, every single person in our program really needs a mental health evaluation. So we're trying at this point to get those done within the first 3 months now of them entering into our program and being in the community. Okay, so beyond treatment then, we also have a requirement that they start out with a 10 p.m. home curfew. So they have to be in the home that they've provided to the probation department by 10 p.m. every single night. And then that goes to 12 o'clock in phase 2, midnight at phase 2, and then it's gone in phase 3 and phase 4. In phase 1, we don't have a strong focus on paying of fines and work or employment, but they are kind of included on that phase structure to like help us focus on them coming down eventually to being a priority. So in phase 1 and phase 2, we don't focus entirely on finding costs or employment, but we know that we need them to be focusing on that come phase 3 and phase 4. I pulled up the phase structure so I wouldn't lose anything. Once they get to phase 2, we do require that they obtain a sponsor. And at the very beginning, when they start in our program, they have to also attend 3 self-help meetings per week. And so that's the last but most significant thing that we're trying to do to tie them to other community resources to build a support and recovery network beyond drug court. And that starts right in the very beginning with 3 per week. They don't go down to 2 per week until phase 3. And then in phase 4, they go down to 1 per week. But what we usually see in phase 4 is that people are still attending more than that 1 per week, because again, that's their support system. And they really, really need that. And their families need that too. Al-Anon is a great resource that we have in Macoupin County that we recommend to families to attend, because the families, see all of this too and are obviously influenced by everything that's going on in this individual's life as well. So if you want to change to the next one. So when I go to places, they always want to know, okay, so can someone get in? Can someone get into drug court? And so the requirements are quite minimal. I mean, really, you just have to be over 18. So you're an adult. It's an adult program. You have to be charged with a felony in Macoupin County. You have to live in Macoupin County. And you have to have a desire for help. You have to have a desire for treatment, a desire to change. And so oftentimes what we will hear from individuals is that they don't want to go to prison. And while in and of itself, that sounds good, we don't want people to go to prison either. That can't be the motivation. We have to hear from people that what they're interested in is recovery, because we're not interested in keeping people from substance use for 2 years. Our goal is that 5 years from now, they're not engaged in substance use. And so it's really kind of a delicate dance in terms of screening people, because to know the difference is really hard. And a lot of times we can't tell. And so ultimately they're given the benefit of the doubt that if they are willing to articulate a desire for change, then we usually help and let them in. We see from people pretty quickly, though, what their motivation really is. And so we encourage referral sources to just take that into consideration, that when you're talking to someone, if their interest in a program is more about abstaining from going to prison, that's not really the ideal candidate for this program, because it is so intense that you have to have a desire to change and a desire not to use. I found that thing on the National Association of Drug Court Professionals website. We restore hope, lead recovery, and advance justice. We are treatment courts. And so really, I mean, ultimately what we're trying to do is advance justice, and we're trying to help people where they're wanting to go. So I don't know how many of you have been around for a while. Some of you are quite young, but you know, probation 20 years ago was very different than what probation looks like today. What we are trying to do is work with people on common goals. So what they want is usually the same as what I want. I want them to abide by their court order and abstain from criminal behavior. And so oftentimes what they want is to get off probation. And so we can often commonly align what we want together to get to the same place together. And so probation has changed a lot. If you want to change the slide. Anyone can come in and make a referral to drug court in Macoupin County. It does not have to be an attorney. It can be a parent. It can be the client themselves. I can send my referral to anyone. Most of you could fill out the form. It's not a difficult form at all. Next slide. And the reason, I mean, is the same reason that all of you are here, that addiction is hard. The evidence shows that people need help long-term. In regular probation, people are asked to go and get a substance abuse evaluation, and sometimes 3 months later, they're successful. The research shows that people need to remain in treatment for up to a year to 18 months to 24 months. The longer that they're in treatment, the longer they maintain that relationship and connection to treatment, the more likely they are to maintain abstinence for longer periods of time. It requires a community effort. And so probation and drug court, our treatment court, is trying to provide a network of support for individuals who are in that addiction space. We had a situation a couple weeks ago where our judge asked the participants to tell them who was their biggest cheerleader, who was the person in your life who's like really rooting you on, who's your main support. And you know, we had 15 people who went around and said different people in their lives. And the last person was like the newest person in the program. And he said, you guys. He couldn't identify one individual in his life who's rooting from him outside that room that was his biggest support. It was the people in the room. And that's usually what it is. It's the people who come into our program have severed ties with the majority of the individuals in their lives. They've lied to everyone that's close to them, everyone that they ever had a relationship with. They've used, they've lied, used to the individual or used the individual and lied to the individual. They've severed ties. Within 6 months, we usually see those relationships reestablished. These people might have said that they've cut them off, that they're dead to them, but they're not. We oftentimes see housing open up. We see relationships built. We see them coming in and helping with transportation. It just takes a few months of effort on these individuals' parts to show the people in their lives that the clean person they used to know is still there and they're truly interested and have a desire to change. And so that's why we do this. Our communities need our participants. The families that they have need our participants. One of the most awesomest things that I've seen in this role, because I was a drug court probation officer before in Morgan County before I got this role, is seeing the kids that come to the graduations that you know are the ripple effect of what our programs have done. And when you see those kids 10 years later, and you know that you were a part of them getting their mom or their dad back, it's incredible. And the programs are so impressive in the sense that they work. If the person is interested in recovery, they can work. And the evidence has been very clear. I mean, there's been a lot of, research done by universities, meta-analysis done to determine that what we're doing in treatment courts do work. And so it's one of the best ways to help people overcome addiction long-term. I've talked a long time. This is Susan Dunn. This is one of our drug court probation officers in Macoupin County. Do you have anything to add?
Not a lot. It just really is, for people to understand it, like that's what I want. I remember, she might have been our first drug court graduate in our program. And somebody at the courthouse called over and she's like, why was there a cake coming over there? Why? I go, oh, it's drug court graduation. She's like, so I'm the party because she did what she's supposed to do. Like it's so much more than, everything she just relationships that they build. Like when that client said, you guys are my support. Kind of talking about us as the team, but also they get to know the other clients and they become friends and they help with rides and they do sober activities together. And it's inspiring. And Corinne talked about in drug court, they might have gotten a sanction and they might have to do, kind of a punishment. That's not what we call it, but still at the end, the judge does find something to clap for him for, like, okay, well, just showing up. You had a terrible 2 weeks, but you showed up for court and you knew that something was going to, sometimes they sit there and like, I'm so nervous. Like, I'm not sure what the judge is going to say. And they get reprimanded and they get a sanction, but they showed up and it's so worth it. It really is. And congratulations to you.
Absolutely.
The graduations and when somebody comes in who doesn't know anything about it or, and there's tears and there's, she says the kids that are there and if their parents come or their spouse, and sometimes they have something to say, at the ceremony or whatever. It really is. It's wonderful.
Well, and we've so often heard from individuals who say, this is the first time I've ever successfully completed anything, and it's like, wow. Like that really means something. And it's hard work. It's something that they can truly be proud of, an accomplishment. And we had one guy who every time that you graduate from a phase, we used to give we give a certificate. We've started putting them in frames because this guy went to Walmart and bought a frame for each one and had them like in his house. So when Brian Lawton actually ended up being at his house, I think his grandmother got served with something. And he was like, come here, I want to show you my wall. And he brought him in and showed him all of the certificates. And it's really something, you know, and it's not common, you know, in this field. There's so much heartbreak. There's so much disappointment. There's so many people who just recidivate or go out and get a new arrest and end up in prison. And it's so disheartening. But this is one thing that we are really proud of in the probation department, that drug court is hard. And there are people that do not make it, you know, that people fail. But the ones that succeed, I mean, they really shine through and help make our jobs what they are.
And make it worth it. Because some of them don't, you know, it's like, it can be frustrating as all get out, but then like when the good, you know, when they do well and when they graduate and or just phase up or whatever, they're thrilled, and it makes it all worth it.
Okay, I'm going to open it up for questions here. So I see Mr. Huff back in there.
So, just how long has your program been involved with the system? And then what do you think your percentages are of those that have graduated and maybe you haven't seen them back in through the court system? You've seen them turn things around.
So in terms of the program started in 2011 in Macoupin County specifically. Greene Counties has only been around for the last 3 or 4 years, I believe. But in terms of Macoupin County numbers, so it's interesting. So I think we're at about a 65% success rate, but that's numbers can tell you whatever they want you to tell it. I mean, I can shape them however I want. So there's a couple different things so we've had a couple of individuals who've withdrawn from the program. So some people get in and they realize this is not what I wanted. I avoided prison, but this is not what I want to do. Or I think in a couple of circumstances that we have had, they've withdrawn because they ended up in like a recovery home in Springfield and didn't want to return to Macoupin County. And that's a requirement. Like you have to live here to be in this program. And so they've withdrawn. And it's like, if you include those, if you don't include those, it changes the numbers a little bit in terms of success. And then also, so when I got here I started my role in 2015, and the amount of people that had been in drug court were like 11 total. I think it was 11 total. And they'd only had, I think, 2 or 3 graduates, 2 graduates. The numbers had just been really low. And so then once we started working on the eligibility criteria, and the state helped give us some technical assistance so we could increase that number. We increased our number to close to 15. I think it was like 12 or 13 when COVID happened. And then COVID caused it to take a huge dive again. And then we ended up down to like 5 or 6 again. And we're just now back up again to like 16, 17 right now. We've increased our capacity to 20. We've got some really good people moving forward right now. So we're actually hoping our numbers will improve in the next round of graduations a little bit. But right now, because of those things, it's only about 60%, I believe. But again, the numbers all of those things, you can really make data tell you anything you want. But yeah, I mean, we're pleased with, the individual data that we have with the graduations. I mean, one of the things I can't tell you, I mean, be excited for that on Friday. That's awesome. And if you ever get the opportunity to go to a graduation, it's very moving. And that's when you realize that, whatever the percentage is, man, it meant a lot to that guy and your family. You know what I mean? And that's just the anecdotal stuff is what really, really matters. So, yeah.
Any other questions? All right, go ahead.
Question with the statement as well. I'm working on developing a network of people and stakeholders in the community that can help people with next steps. So when they graduate drug court, they can have job placement, life skills, all that type of stuff. So I'd love to connect with you to kind of help build some of that infrastructure. But what is the buy-in from community stakeholders in terms of like, hey, I'm a fan of drug court. I own a restaurant. I can do some of the jobs. So what's the pulse in the community? What's their observation, and how is that integration then, if at all?
So Okay, we had a little bit of community interest when like 2017, 2018 before the pandemic. And then with the pandemic, it really went down. And so we are just now kind of starting to get asked like this to be more involved. So I would say right now we do have a number of individuals who are in phase 3 who have started employment. We have a couple of different employers throughout Macoupin, one here in Montgomery that has hired some of our people. But I would say a lot of people just do not know what drug court is. One of the things that we can provide employers, which is amazing, is a release of information for just drug tests. So if an employer is saying, yeah, I'd love to have this person work for me, but he's a past drug user, we have our clients are more than willing to sign a release of information so that we can tell them about their clean drug tests, and then I think that's a great relationship to have, but we don't have a lot of those relationships right now. We would love to build them more.
And housing is another thing. Like I had a client
Biggest
recently
barrier.
who had to get out of where she was and needed a place. And I called just a bunch of people in Crownville, but told them, I get your hesitancy, but if she tests positive, I can let you know. And that maybe she's having issues and, that's something you need to look at or whatever. And, then they can call me if, boy, there's a lot of traffic in and out of somebody's apartment or whatever. So it is, and the clients are willing to do it too. If they,
Well, and she was successful, but unfortunately about 2 years ago, the same situation happened. I called everywhere that I could think of in Macoupin County. I couldn't find a place. And that guy was not successful. And that can make or break it.
Absolutely.
Can you explain also the difference between being a diversion? So technically, while they're going through drug court, they don't technically have a sentence since it's.
So ours is not that. Usually ours, for a while, we thought it could be both, but we have not had that in a while. And I don't think our population would support it right now. It is a post-conviction drug court. However, one of the things that's a huge incentive for individuals is that our prosecutor has been very generous in the past few years about dismissing the case entirely, even post-conviction, which is pretty unheard of. Yeah.
And I think, Bethany, you got a question in the corner?
Oh, mine was just about the criteria for eligibility. So I know like resident of Macoupin County, not that we get a lot of referrals here at the hospital, but charged with a felony in Macoupin County, is that just because like certain counties don't have the drug court option? Because I know like for instance, I live in Gillespie, and say I went to Hillsborough and I got, I'm not saying this, but I got pulled over and then they found some sort of, drug paraphernalia on me, and then I got arrested and whatnot, and I wanted to do this. I'm a Macoupin County resident, but I was charged in Montgomery County.
Right.
So then,
unfortunately, like that, we are just not there yet in terms of our state. So what that would require, it's not outside the realm of possibility, but what I believe is that your defense attorney would have to request from the court that it be judicially transferred, which means the entire file. That doesn't just mean like you get sentenced here and then it moves over to Macoupin County Court. Like typically, like in regular probation, people can move around all over and it just gets moved courtesy supervision wise. That would require a full judicial transfer, which the case would be moved to Macoupin County. And those are really rare.
I'm just thinking from
Yeah.
if I did have a potential referral, I don't want to be like.
Yeah, they have to live, for us, you have to live in Macoupin County and be charged with a Macoupin County crime. Now, if you got charged in what has happened within circuits has been like, if you got charged in one county, you can that county could ask that you be accepted to or to a drug court in another county where they live, and it be a condition of the probation there. So they actually are sentenced in that county, but it's a condition of their probation there that they comply with the drug court program in another county. We've never had that happen here, but.
If I did have like a potential person and I wasn't exactly sure, I could just send them.
For sure. Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and usually it would be the prosecutors who have that conversation usually.
Linda?
Do you have a challenge with people participating in this due to transportation issues? That's what
Yes,
we have
the
in
two
Montgomery
issues
County.
that we have the most are housing, I would say is above that, but transportation is definitely a close second. Now in Macoupin though, we do have transit, which is huge. In Green, it is a huge problem.
I think after that, we're going to cut the questions to keep rolling on with the meeting. We have a couple other things we need to finish up before the meeting. If you have any other questions, I could forward them on to Corinne, or and we could get you an answer if you have any other questions that you want for the drug court presentation. Let me switch this. Okay. I don't know why it's not letting me switch here. There we go. Okay, so we have a moment of wellness, and that is prepared by Kathy Alfred Spitz, correct? Okay, Spitzy.
So I was just going to talk about some of the coping skills that I have learned on my recovery journey that has helped me in stressful situations and work well with many different situations. One being just breathe. It might sound silly, but deep breaths or doing breathing exercises can totally put you in the right headspace to deal with everything life throws at you. Take a deep breath in through your nose and then out through your mouth. You'd be surprised how much this can help you out in a moment of stress. On your way to work, turn off the radio. Just enjoy the silence. Pay attention to what's going on around you. Could really work well if you work in like a noisy environment, or if you're going home from work and you have a noisy environment there. Just that moment of peace that you might need in the mornings or afternoons. A lot of times I know I like just kind of get tunnel vision and kind of go into autopilot and don't really think much about anything. So doing exercises at your desk or wherever your work area is. Do simple stretches, get your blood flowing and get your mind off things for a while. Doesn't have to be an entire exercise routine, just something simple. Just say no. Learning to say no politely can help with feeling overwhelmed about your workload. A lot of times people don't want to say no, especially if your boss is asking you to do something. But if you already have a crazy workload, it's okay. Drink more water and avoid sugars. Coffee is a must-have for a lot of people, but before you have your first cup of coffee, try and drink a cup of water. It can lead to having a healthier habits and try to avoid the sugary snacks. Yeah, it will give you the surge of energy at first, but it's followed by the crash. And instead of the sugary snacks, grab fruit. Go for a walk, whether it be on your lunch break or before work, after work. Take in your surroundings, how it feels to be out walking. Pay attention to what you see. Even if it's just a 5-minute walk, it can put you in a completely different mood. Leave your desk at lunchtime, even if it's just to go on a walk. Just take some time to do something other than staring at a computer screen or whatever else you have been doing all day. It can get your mind off of things for a while, and by the end of the day, hopefully it will help you feel better by not doing the same thing all day long. Take and give a compliment. Who doesn't love being complimented? So sometimes it can be hard for us to take a compliment and say thank you. So make sure you do say thank you. A compliment can make anyone's day, and it can boost confidence and feeling of work. And this can help maintain a positive mental well-being. So if you get stressed or are feeling overwhelmed, especially at work, try 1 or 2 of these and hopefully feel the tension off the way.
Thank you, Kathy. Okay. All right. Did you have something, Brian?
Yeah, what is next month hold for us here?
I was getting to that. Our next slide is going to say thank you to everyone for coming. Thank you to Corinne for your presentation. Next meeting is June 27th at 2 p.m. Hopefully in the bigger room. But Miss Linda is going to present to us from Crossover Ministries about the living room project that they have on their schedule. It's very good to hear. I've heard it a couple times. So I'm
And a
look
couple more.
and a couple more. So for all those that will be attending in person or virtual next time, she will be our presenter. So we will have the joy of holding that for her. Once again, next meeting, June 27th, any announcements you would like to forward to Brian or I that we could present to the people in attendance for next time, just send those to us. If you have any other questions for Corinne, you can also send that to us. We can get those to her to answer. And Brian?
Yeah, I don't know if she's still on, but I just want to thank the honorable judge for being on the meeting with us today. I really appreciate you taking the time.
I did see her on. I don't know that she's still on. She is gone.
We're very grateful for that. Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone. And that will be a wrap.